Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. I'm seeing continued fear on social media platform X, which is where the XRP community as well as the broader crypto community seems to live. And not surprising because we're seeing crypto prices continue to go down. People continue to emotionally be tortured by the markets. Not surprising. But I just want to let you know I am seeing warnings from a number of analysts that I follow that there's a good chance we're going to see some continued downside here. So I want to talk about that, but it is not all doom and gloom, so fear not. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I am not a financial advisor. I'm not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say are right. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. Now, as I record this video, it is 6:07 p.m. Central Time, Thursday, September 5th, 2024. XRP is down to 54 cents. Bitcoin is down to $56,121. So down another 3.41% over the last 24 hours. Looking forward to seeing how the Crypto Fear and Greed Index looks once it updates in 51 minutes, because it does update only once every 24 hours. But at the moment, it's listed as 29 out of 100, which will surprise nobody that's paying attention. The market is in fear, unquestionably. So let's scare you guys a little bit more before we give you some optimism. Let's do that, right? Here's a post from chart analyst Credible Crypto, and he writes the following. And this is a Bitcoin chart on your screen. He says, "Spot's still selling off here, but at the same time, we are seeing some signs of absorption at the lows. Maybe some chop around the lows here for the next few days before we are ready for a real break. Watching for some ranging price action with potential deviations above/below the blue lines here, where we have notable bids/asks stacked." And so you can see the bottom blue line is below $55,500, roughly speaking. He's warning there's a very real chance it goes even lower than that. And with people already emotionally tormented as much as they are now, every little bit, every $500 to $1,000 on Bitcoin, and then you know the rest of the market moves in tandem, it just kills people. It really does. Now, of course, this is why I always say, if you take the approach that someone like me takes and you buy stuff and then you just are willing to hold however long it takes, then you don't have to worry about this. I was here when Bitcoin was $3,200. I was here when XRP was 10 cents. The stuff is higher and people are freaking out. It's just, you need perspective here. But seriously, in the short term, I'm seeing, and I'm just going to give you a few examples because otherwise I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but here's another one. This is a post from chart analyst Dom at TraderView2. This is a Bitcoin USD chart, and he says, "The market looks truly ready to fall off a cliff, preparing for the worst until something drastically changes." So again, not trying to scare people, I'm just warning you, like, be ready for this. So if it does fall off a cliff here, like, oh yeah, okay, so that's something that perhaps we should have expected. It's not weird. It doesn't mean that the world is actually going to end here. Here's yet another example. The Daily Hodl covered this perspective from chart analyst Michael Vandepop. "Bitcoin could plunge lower before reversing back up," says analyst Michael Vandepop. He wrote here, "The lower time frame picture on Bitcoin is highly boring. Took the liquidity above $58,200 and dropped back. Most likely will take the liquidity lower at $54,000 and then reverse back up. But it's event week." And then he cites some crucial levels around $56,000 to $58,200. And he says either will provide direction. So just be warned that you could see some more negative price action, and that will impact the entire market. But I want to share with you that we are talking about lower time frame price action, so more over the short term. And this even if it does continue to go in that direction, just understand, that's in the face of XRP still showing greater than usual strength against the rest of the market. And it's also happening, and I think that this is the most important point, it's happening at a time when whales have still been hoarding coins. They're still hoarding. I've never seen whales get wrong-footed. If there's an example of that, then show me the data. I will accept it. I just haven't seen it. The whales, when you're at the top of the market, that's when the whales sell. And then when you're at the bottom, that's when they buy. And even if you're talking on a shorter time frame, so yeah, I mean, that's certainly true in the extremes on a more of a macro scale, but even over shorter time frames, the whales behave like that. Are they going to get wrong-footed here? I guess wait and find out. I'm not anticipating that, broadly speaking, the whales are going to find out that they were the dumb ones and the typical limiting retail speculators are the ones who were actually correct. So, take that for what it's worth here. Here's a post from chart analyst Mustache, hashtag altcoins. We've already seen upward wave 1 in crypto. The current consolidation / reaccumulation is completely normal, which we have already seen in 2012, 2016, and 2020. The second upward wave is still missing. This is usually the biggest wave of the cycle theory. And so, like I said, although I wanted to prepare you with some negative news up front about the short term, about what might happen, because again, I'll just be honest with you, I showed you just a few examples. I'm seeing it from tons of analysts. In the short term, this does not look good. But that doesn't mean, just to be clear, that doesn't mean that they've flipped and they think that we should be in bear mode now and everything's going to come crashing down. And so here you can see, he's talking on higher time frame here about when everything that is read in this post here. He's talking about higher time frame. So we're just in a typical reaccumulation range, which does scare people because you trend down for a little bit after some sideways price action, and then you go. That is still his anticipation. Here's a post from chart analyst Mikey Bull Crypto, hashtag altcoins. Alt season 2020 similarity to this cycle is compelling. The expansion phase will be longer and huge. And so again, higher time frame, I'm not seeing a shift in perspective from the analysts that I followed. None of them. I haven't noticed them anyway. Here's a post from chart analyst Crypto Michael. Shaking out the final weak hands before liftoff. Your patience will be rewarded soon. Well, I certainly hope so, because I am patient. I'm more patient than anyone else in this damn space. That's my goal anyway. I try to be. Here's a post from chart analyst Dr. Magic, and this is an XRP ETH chart, so XRP priced against ETH. And this is, so like I was saying a couple minutes ago, this shows XRP's strength. As I cited against the rest of the market, it's very notable here. He's citing it specifically against Ethereum. And it's fascinating. Look at this. XRP ETH pushing up again. Like yesterday, unconfirmed yet. Probably they're going to wait till I go to sleep and retrace the move again. So he's been tracking this for some time, and he's actually not the only one that has been noticing XRP is really showing some strength against ETH. In fact, here was chart analyst Crypto Insight UK who has been noticing this as well. And he wrote XRP versus ETH still battling. So noting both of them basically highlighting, there's some sort of crazy breakout, but it's interesting. This is worth watching. XRP uncharacteristically showing strength against ETH. You don't normally see this. I mean, for years, XRP, we've taken in the shorts, man. I tell you that. And I still blame the SEC for the vast majority of that. But it's been so fascinating watching XRP show tremendous strength against the top 100 coins over the last few months. Oh, by the way, so Crypto Insight UK also noted that this is also true for XRP priced against Bitcoin, pretty similar to ETH. And then Charting Guy, he noted that he's gonna update charts soon, so I'll be happy to share that when he does. But on the topic of XRP priced against Bitcoin, he just simply noted XRP has been outperforming Bitcoin for 3 months, and this is just the sideways phase. Wait until it really expands. And so, folks, we are in this moment in time that historically is pretty, like, I'll tell you this, and I'd mentioned it, I think, in a recent video, but September historically, very, very poor price action when it comes to crypto. It's almost always down. Things are cyclical, but we're at the end of summer, and things chafed. There's a certain amount of seasonality, let's say. And if history is to kind of rhyme with itself, like, I still firmly believe that what's most probable, though not certain, is that we're going to see a much stronger move to the top. We got to go through some more pain here, and that's fine. And if you're wondering in terms of what the timeline might be, man, look, I don't pretend to know. But still, there are certain things that I feel more confident about. Obviously, I've been talking about a lot of them, including, like, for instance, back in January when the S&P 500 finally hit a new all-time high after hitting bear market lows a couple years prior, whatever the timeline was, finally hit a new all-time high. And I know, and this fact is still true. So it is a matter of fact that if you go back to, like, the 1950s and look at the last 12 out of 13 instances where after a bear market the S&P 500 hit a new all-time high, 12 out of 13 of those times, fast forward a year and it's up on average 16%. So we're not there yet. We haven't even hit that January mark yet, but it doesn't go up in a straight line. And by the way, everything that's happening here with crypto, understand that the stock market's been going through a similar hell. Find crypto's more volatile. but everything moves together. I'm not seeing anything that should lead us to believe, oh my gosh, we're wrong. And especially we're not wrong about crypto. Crypto pie is just going to keep getting bigger. You can quote me on that. Check in another decade from now and tell me if it would have made sense to just hold. You know, you got to have perspective here. But there's this post also from chart analyst E. Greg Crypto talking about, you know, historically, it's not like some sort of firm prediction, but I find it interesting. He's talking about what a timeline could look like if history kind of rhymes with itself. And so he wrote, XRP 2025 May, sell and go away, question mark. For those who have been following me, you'll remember I predicted a pump starting in July 2024 based on the duration of cycle B, spanning roughly 1,186 days from peak to peak. And if you want to see what that is, by the way, folks, you'll need to look at your screen. Don't do it if you're driving, though. That's not safe. He says, but guess what? Cycle B no longer applies. So we're pivoting to cycle A as our new historical anchor for this thesis. Here's the scoop. If cycle A repeats, we could see the top in May 2025. Cycle A took about 1,492 days from peak to a new all-time high. But there's another angle. If we measure from XRP's inception to cycle A's peak, we're looking at a potential top around September 2025, which would be about 1,614 days. So he says, XRP Army, stay steady. The FUD will come from all sides, and the gates of hell might open on the XRP Army. But remember, it's a choice to be in the next 1%, or end up like the top 1% who got wrecked. So let me share with you something. As many of you are aware, because I probably say it too much, I've been in crypto since late 2017. But before I jumped in, just a couple months prior, maybe it was September. I'd have to go back and look at the chart, but it was around that time there was news that scared the market. It's typically attributed to this. There could have been other factors as well. This is before I was in crypto, but I just am aware of this. It was about China banning Bitcoin, this and that. And mind you, in 2017, Bitcoin had been going up insanely high. I mean, just from January, it's just not literally a straight line up. There were periods where it went down. You had multiple corrections of over 30%. But that's why I wanted to mention this. So in September, just some people thought it was the end of the world. I hadn't even learned about crypto yet, and they already thought it was done. You know, it's just trying to add some perspective here. It crashed a lot. I don't remember the exact numbers. Maybe I'll cite it in a future video. It just occurred to me, and I thought I'd mention it. But it wasn't the end of the world. In fact, even for that cycle, it wasn't the end of the world. Yes, things were cratering down. It looked very bad. I mean, Bitcoin went down what seemed like a lot at the time anyway, and percentage-wise it was. But then we had that crazy blow-off top, and it happened very quickly, didn't it? It was at, for Bitcoin, it started at, it was either the end of November 2017 or the very beginning of December. But, you know, you fast forward about 2.5 weeks later, and Bitcoin went from what, about $10,000 to nearly $20,000? Like, stuff happens fast, and similarly, things happen fast for XRP. So, again, I'll just remind you, either you have exposure when that stuff happens or you don't. So, I'm not telling you what's going to happen. I don't pretend to know, and I'm just straight up about this always. Like, nobody knows. But it's interesting to look at what has happened in the past to try and come to reasonable conclusions about what's most probable for this market cycle. And so it's certainly possible that we are, despite this scary price action that seems like it's never again, despite that in and of itself is not an indication that we are doomed here. That in and of itself is not. There have been tons of instances where people get shaken out exactly for reasons like this, and then the market just continues to the upside and melts faces. So I'm going to be here for that if it happens. And if we go into a bear market, you know what? I'll go through that, and then we'll pop out of it in a couple, 2-3 years, whatever it takes, and then I'll go through the bull cycle there too. It's not going to be the end of the world for me. Just have some perspective here. So I understand that things could get more scary in the short term, but how could you not be big picture an optimist? That just doesn't compute to me. I still think XRP hits a new all-time high, enters price discovery, melts faces. I just don't pretend to know when. But eventually, since everything's cyclical and it all moves together, unless the world's going to end, you know, if you're going to have a bigger crypto pie, you're going to have more money flow into the stock market, moves in tandem. Yes, XRP is a part of that. To me, it seems incredibly obvious still. I'm not wavering on that because it doesn't make logical sense to waver on that. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.